All right, guys. Calling to order the Planning and Zoning meeting for the Village of El Portal on Tuesday, September 13th. The time is now 7:32 p.m. I am Councilwoman Darian Martin, and I'll be chairing this meeting. We're going to go ahead and forego our solemn meditation and pledge because we just did that. We'll move on to the roll call. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Roll call. Chair Martin.
Here.
Vice Chair Perella.
Here.
Member Urban.
Present.
Member Nickerson.
Here.
Member Lightfoot Ward.
Here.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, and Joseph Geller, Attorney.
All right, it looks like I do have a quorum. So we'll move on to subsection D, which is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We're approving the minutes from the July 12th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, we're moving on to good and welfare, and just as in the previous meeting, this is a time for you to step up to the podium and state any comments that you have about the items that appear on this agenda. Before you step up to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Does anyone want to come up and participate in our first good and welfare this evening? There will be another one. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the agenda items G1, which is the site plan review for new construction for 8545 Northeast 4th Avenue Road. Can I have both the applicant and Camila step up to the podium? I'll have the applicant state their name and address for the record, and then Camila, you can give us just a brief synopsis of this item. I know that you guys are recommending approval. So could you please state your name and address?
My name is
Here,
Gregory
Madam
Borja.
Chair,
Oh, sure.
just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just for a moment. Anybody that's going to give testimony, please raise your right hand. Anybody that's going to offer testimony? So,
That would be the applicant for 9001 as well.
yeah, I think probably, yes. Okay, so just repeat after me. I, and state your name. I, and then say your name.
I,
Do
Gregory
hereby
Borja,
solemnly swear
here and swear
that the testimony I will give
that the testimony I will give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God, or you may affirm it.
So help me God and I may affirm.
Thank you.
Nice, nice,
Sorry to
nice.
interrupt.
No worries. So now we're all sworn and ready to go. If you could go ahead, the applicant, if you could give us your name and your address, and then we'll head over to Camila.
My name is Gregory Borja. The address is 8545 Northeast 4th Avenue Road.
Awesome. And I'll have Camila give a brief synopsis and a recommendation.
Yes, good evening, committee members. This site plan review application is for the construction of a new addition at the property with address 8545 Northeast 4th Avenue Road. The approximately 1,760 square foot addition consists of a new garage to the northeast side of the house and a conversion of the existing rear open terrace into a new master bedroom. The applicant also proposes a detached two-story rear addition containing a new gym and an office. The additions comply with the zoning requirements and site development standards for Zone 3. The proposed plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the intent of the use in the district in which it is located. The approval of the site plan will not have an adverse impact on the village. The design of the addition is of a different architectural style, yet it is consistent with the scale and composition of the existing house, as well as the materials. Therefore, staff recommends approval because the applicant is showing good cause for the proposal of the construction of the new additions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So first, Mr. Attorney.
And Madam Chair, just very quickly, without objection, you should accept the staff report into evidence because it does constitute competent substantial evidence.
Okay, so I accept that report into evidence. I will move forward with opening the conversation up to the council first. After that, I'll close it to the council and open it up to the general public. But does anyone on the council have a comment or question about item number G1?
I do.
Okay. Councilman Lightfoot Ward?
You're going to tell us later or shortly why you said approve it?
Why we recommend approval?
Yes.
Because
She just did.
I
All those
didn't-
reasons?
I didn't.
Okay.
it complies with the zoning requirements, and it is consistent with what the comprehensive plan of the village calls for. And while it is a different architectural style, it does have a flat roof. For example, in the existing house is more of a traditional style. However, the materials, the height complies with the requirements, and the composition of for example, for the two-story addition, which is in the rear, is consistent with the design guidelines that were adopted by the village. However, you can also note that from the public right-of-way of this addition, the addition to the side for the new garage, the rear addition for the new master bedroom, and the detached ancillary unit, the only element that will be visible will be the garage entrance, which will be attached to the side of the house. So really, everything else that will be added to the house will not be visible from the street. So that's just a
Synopsis.
comment, yes, separate, just
that's-
keep in mind.
So that everyone would understand it more fluently, like you just said, because that is the issue, and you just covered it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Perrella?
Yes,
You have a comment?
well, the comment I had, or the question I had, I didn't know there was like, that you could do actually 2 full bathrooms and a detached, like there was there's been so many, questions about, in-laws and stuff like that,
Yes.
and why would an office and a gym will have a full double vanity, bathroom? So it's like, is that legal? I mean, obviously you are recommending approval. Is that within the code?
No, actually, it's permitted.
It's
There's nothing
permitted.
explicitly prohibiting
Yeah.
the number
Okay.
of,
That's the whole.
but I don't know if the applicant would like to,
Well,
Add to-
I'm in the construction industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that's normal. It's,
Yeah.
every jeans has a bathroom. Or, you don't need to get out of
Right.
the gym to go to the main house, or, to use the bathroom.
Right. No, so it's a
Same
cabana,
thing
or
with
is the, right,
Same thing in your office. If you're in your office,
Right.
you don't need to go to the main house.
got it,
All right.
thank you.
Vice Mayor Erbaum, did you have a comment?
No, I think Camila answered most of my questions, I believe, so I think I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll go ahead and close the conversation to the council. Does anyone else who's attending in the audience have a comment about item G1? Hearing none, I will bring it back to the council and ask whether or not anybody would like to move to accept the staff's recommendation to approve this item.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is this a roll call? All right. May I have the roll call, please?
Roll call. Member Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Member Nickerson.
Yes.
Member Erbaum.
Yes.
Vice Chair Perrella.
Yes,
Chair Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. You have to come to our next hearing, which
Sir?
would be a hearing. There's a second hearing.
Oh, there's a second?
Yes.
For when?
I don't have the date as of now because I have to see advertisement.
Okay.
Depending on the advertisement. We'll
Okay.
be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. We'll move on to item G2, which is a fence variance for 9001 Northeast First Avenue. Can I have the applicant up to the podium? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Alberto Fernandez, address 9001 Northeast First Avenue.
Okay, and Camila, can you give us just a synopsis and staff recommendation on this item?
Yes, certainly. This variance application is for the construction of a fence with a height of 4 feet with horizontal spaced aluminum slats and concrete posts spaced at 9 feet on center within the primary front setback of the property at 9001 Northeast First Avenue. The frontage of fronting Northeast First Avenue of this property consists of a 25-foot setback, a 5-foot sidewalk, and a 15.5-foot parkway. Staff finds that this fence will not detract from the pedestrian experience along this right-of-way because of the height of 4 feet. It conserves the sight line from the house toward the street. And also important to note is that this street currently is a dead end or is closed toward the neighboring Miami Shores. While that could be open in the future, and it's important to consider, currently there's moderate foot traffic and almost no vehicular traffic. Also important to note that this is solely for the proposed 4-foot fence along the primary front yard. There is an existing 6-foot fence along the secondary front yard that is legally non-conforming because it was built beforehand. But because they have not proposed a fence in this secondary frontage, this approval is solely for the 4-foot fence proposed for the primary frontage of the house. Therefore, we recommend approval for this fence.
All right, thank you so much. I guess we're accepting this evidence in as competent, substantial evidence. I will go ahead and first open the conversation to my fellow council members. Does anyone have a question or comment for Camila or the applicant? Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward.
I noticed that there was a comment in the printout about the children, safety of the children.
I believe that was in the letter of intent from the applicant as one of the reasons that they're requesting this variance is to enclose their, if I don't want to speak for the
Yeah,
applicant,
definitely.
but
Yes, I have
So-
2 little kids, and we're about to move. We recently acquired the house. We're doing a whole renovation in the house. The space in front of the house is quite large. That's why I wanted to enclose it. I live on a corner next to a main avenue, and I don't want any of my kids to have the front door just right off the street. So that's why I think the 4 feet it's feasible if it is approved. But privacy and more than anything, security. That was my biggest concern.
May I?
Sure.
And you don't have room in the back for the children?
Say that again?
You don't have room in your backyard
Oh
for the
no,
children?
definitely. I have yeah. I have the backyard, but I would like to use the front yard.
So
That's
when
why-
they get older, will you be changing it?
when I be
When the
older,
children get
Uh-huh.
older, will you be changing it back?
the fence?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I might have more kids.
That's the right answer right there.
Why
That's the
would you
one.
do that?
That's the right answer.
2 is a good number. Do we have any other comments from the council?
Yeah, I have, Camila, so as I'm looking at the diagram, I guess, I was under the impression that it was going to be along both sides. This is just on the 90th Street side?
yes,
Okay.
we would encourage if the
And so,
applicant decides in the future
and
to
so
have.
setback from that is another 6-foot fence that I saw in the picture that's going around, is that right?
Yes, there's an existing 6-foot fence fronting
90th.
90th.
And
Yes,
this 4-foot
thank you.
fence is proposed for 90th only?
Oh, no, then sorry, no. This is, the 4-foot fence is for First Avenue, fronting
It's only for
Northeast
First
First
Avenue?
Avenue.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's,
Yeah, that's
The
what-
dead end
I guess
side.
you could
That-
consider the
The dead
post-
end side.
it's
Yeah.
It's a dead end side.
Okay.
It's just the heavy traffic is along 90th, but the primary frontage in this property is toward First Avenue.
I guess,
So
in-
that's-
I guess in my mind, I'm thinking it would be more aesthetic if it actually consistently wrapped around. So how is it,
Yes.
how is the fence going to end? Where is the fence going, is it just gonna end?
On the edge of the house. It's
Yeah.
only gonna be on that on the
On that one
the
side.
no, yeah, on
Okay.
one side, because on the other sides we have the 6
The
feet
6
fence,
sure.
which is grandfather in. We're not touching that.
So
So,
then does the
Are you
4-foot
done, Vice Mayor?
No, does the
Okay.
does the 4-foot fence then come in to contact with the house?
No,
That the
with
spot?
existing
This
fence.
fence.
With the existing fence.
It does?
Mm.
Okay,
Which, yes.
okay.
We encourage in the future, if there were to be a replacement of the fence, to continue the 4-foot fence, which actually, if the 6-foot fence, if there was an intent to replace it, it would have to comply with the code. because they intend on keeping the fence that was built before the code was adopted, it can remain as is at this time.
And then am I guessing that your original idea was to put a 6-foot fence, and then you were informed that a 4-foot fence was only allowed?
No.
From the-
Initially, what we applied for, it's all over the house.
Okay,
It was a 6-foot fence.
sure.
So we applied to replace that, to do a new one.
And then
But the side that is facing the main avenue on the sidewalk, not, I guess that's 90th Street or that First Avenue?
90th Street.
Yeah,
Mhm.
90th Street.
okay,
Camila explained to us that we cannot,
Okay.
otherwise we have to go 15 feet. It's in good conditions. The most that we could do is repair it. That's what we did. We
Okay.
already passed inspections. And then after that, that's when we applied for the small fence in the front of the house, just to have that enclosed and, also have the carts inside. Now, if you look at the pictures, there are two small 6-foot fence in that dead end.
mm-hmm,
I'm actually, the one on the left, I'm gonna take it off. So once it's approved, the 4-foot fence,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have anything there.
Okay.
So, because that's gonna be like my driveway, so it's gonna be the 4-foot fence, and it's gonna have, you're gonna see through almost half of the entire backyard.
okay.
And I'll have a fence 6-foot fence way back in the middle of my patio.
Okay. And then final question, Camila. The design of this fence meets standards for like wind. Wind can pass through it. Thinking of hurricanes, things like this. The construction is. We're satisfied with the way the construction is proposed of how this fence is going to be put up.
In terms of materials, we actually appreciate the concrete posts.
Yeah.
I think it adds an aesthetic value, but after this, you will have to pass the building
Okay.
building permit approval, they will make sure that it can withstand
Yeah.
and secure.
That makes sense.
So just be aware of that fence designs are designed to allow some wind to be able to pass through, so it's not just a solid wall of fence, so that tropical storms, whatnot, the fence is more durable because it allows some of that wind to pass through. So just be aware of that as you're talking with contractor and things like
Oh,
that.
no, definitely.
Yeah,
And again, my goal, my biggest concern was just to get something there, at least 4 feet. I think the design for what my architect and my contractor put together, it's feasible within the code, but any recommendation will change it. I think the concrete blocks was a good idea, like Camila is saying, and my GC recommended that. But any other recommendation from the city to adjust, we will do it.
okay. And then just be aware that, I know we're just talking about a fence and it seems like a lot to go through just for a fence, but we've been through a lot and
No,
getting
no,
our code updated and everything like that. So the fences was a real big deal. And so we just want to make sure that we know exactly what we're talking about with the variance to essentially a new code that we have in place, so.
Perfect. And just to button this up, Camila, he can have a 4-foot fence in the front of his property by code. The only variance that we're doing is for the material. Is that it?
No.
No, the front yard requires a variance for any fence. However, the code does say that masonry, coral rock, and fence, as long as it's not a privacy fence, it's like no spacing,
Mhm.
or, although we understand that masonry wall doesn't have any spacing, but it adds to the character. And recently there have been, the requests to enclose the front yard have increased. And so we will be working in the near future as part of the code amendments to see if we can come up with, we will propose something that can work for the front yard, because the goal of the village is to keep the front yards open.
Mhm.
And so anything greater than 4 feet is something that, as planners, we would not recommend or
Definitely.
stand behind.
I just feel like we've been getting a lot of
Yes.
fence variances, like
Yes.
over and over again. And the staff recommendation consistently has been approval, approval, approval. So is what we have in the code like sufficient? Does it contemplate all the variations of the materials people want to use or where they want to place fences? Do we need to, just as a body, look at this again and kind of see whether or not we want to completely alter this section so we're not
Right.
causing everyone to kind of come to us piecemeal for these variances. Would you recommend that?
Yes,
Okay,
we would. Yes,
Okay.
it's not material, it's mostly the location.
okay. Okay, so maybe that's something that we can look at for the next Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, just maybe a
Certainly.
recommendation as far as what's happening in Greater Miami-Dade County when you think about safety and durability and wind and all of these things. Just give us something where it's contemplative of those things and maybe can remove the step of like the applicants having to come to us multiple
Definitely,
times.
and especially like what you said on the last meeting about the fencing variance that we had in front of us. It's that sense of security and what kind of security? It's the sense of that the people, I mean, I've been living here for 8 years. I don't feel like I need put a fence on my front yard. So that, to me, is like, it's more of a,
So this is a good point. And then also, we don't have an abundance of sidewalks. We have people with varying levels of abilities, people with strollers, like, you know, it's the approval part. It's hard to, I guess, go against the staff recommendation, but I'm just wondering why the approvals if our position is that we do not want these
Frontage
items in the front yard. And we can always, you know, not go with the staff's recommendation, but at the same time, I think that there needs to be a more comprehensive conversation on how we're dealing with this, because now it's fence variance season over and over again. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out, I think that what you said as far as it being fence season is 100% correct. So I think that, you know, coming back to the next P and Z, it would be good to look at that. Also keep in mind, though, that, and I think that the fence thing should be pulled out and we should attack it like right away. Remember, they're going through, remember I have them going through the entire code, and everything that contradicts, everything that seems outdated, everything like when they look at things and they say, okay, you know what, like, this was good back in '92, but you know now I think we should update. They're going through it. They're going to make an entire list of everything to bring to us, which is going to be like, you know, that's like a 4-hour meeting in itself. But they are compiling. They're going through the whole code and compiling stuff. But I think what you said is absolutely correct, Madam Chair. That things that we see coming up frequently, we should pull out of that comprehensive list and address it right away.
Yeah, that is a gargantuan task, and I look forward to reviewing that. I think it's also going to take us some time to review all of these recommendations. But I think in the short term, because we are kind of seeing a run on like the fence variance, and I just want to be mindful in treating everyone the same, but also mindful of what this means for the village going forward. So I would love to carve that out now and look at it at the next Planning and Zoning Committee meeting and figure out where are we trying to go, because right now it's a hodgepodge of things. So if you could do that, that would be great.
I just wanted to make that point, Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure.
I just wanted to make that point because, you know, since you said that, which is 100% correct, I didn't want people out there to think that, okay, well, they're just going to pull out the fence thing, but what about other things? I want them to know
no.
that we are compiling everything
For sure.
that seems outdated or contradictory or just like, you know, better practices or things like that. We are working on everything. I want everybody out there to know that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For sure. Does anyone else from the council have a comment on this
I do.
item?
I really do.
Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward.
We keep saying fence. I'm trying to visualize. You're not putting up a wall. You're putting up something you can see through, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm looking at the diagram and I'm saying, we're saying fence, but is it a wall? No, the poles are concrete.
Correct, and aluminum.
And
in
the
between.
aluminum is what we see
Correct.
through. So your property's not really guarded.
Correct.
Okay. That's all. I
Yeah.
thought
but
it was.
I'm sorry if I may. It goes against the sidewalk and it's a corner lot and.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
exactly
I've seen
what-
houses, I drive quite a distance to go to work, and I go through neighborhoods, and when I see those 4-foot fences in front of the houses, to me, it doesn't appeal. It looks really, you know, like, so that's not what I want for the village. And we have to look at the future, you know, like you said, that street right now is closed, it has been closed for what, 15 years probably, but it has a sidewalk and it's a whole street, it's First Ave that connects the 87 all the way to 95th Street. So I don't know whether that was legally closed or not, but definitely is something that probably is not gonna stay closed for much longer, or probably, you know.
And just to add to Councilman Perella's point, I feel you. You see the 4-foot fences, and then sometimes immediately after, you see those hedges that go behind it, and those hedges grow a lot taller than 4 feet, and they do create an obstructive element. And right now, I don't know that we have the staff necessary to man those hedges and their height, because there are countless houses in the village who have shrubs and hedges that are a lot taller than what is prescribed in the code. So I do think that there's a trend, and to a certain extent it looks beautiful, but to another extent it becomes an obstruction and a hazard for pedestrians and for motorists. So I just kind of want us to look at that and see where we're going. But I agree with Councilman Perella that it's something to keep an eye on. Councilman Lightfoot Ward, do you have a comment?
Yes. You live by that street that cuts off from Miami Shores. That's where you live, right? Right by you is a boundary line. And you're in El Portel side, and that boundary line is
Nothing
what
close.
the chair is talking about right now. See, that's really what's in my head. Just because it's in a dead-end street doesn't mean that the next person coming along won't say, well, I might as well build a wall. Okay, we watching this. Thank you.
Anyone else on the council with comments?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Final comment. As we went through the fence ordinance, one of our primary objectives was to maintain, an aesthetic as a walkable neighborhood, so that, the neighborhood is inviting. I think we had many discussions as well to the fact that frequently neighborhoods where you have the gates, the fences, the hedges that cover off the entire frontage of the home, those neighborhoods feel less safe than a neighborhood where all of the yards are essentially open, visible, and accessible. But in addition to that, I know that kind of the exception was the kind of more the coral or the masonry wall, right, lends itself to a specific aesthetic associated with kind of carving limestone out of the ground and using that natural material to enhance the property, right? So I guess for me on this, this 4-foot fence is not outside the realm of what would be accepted for a coral wall, right? The purpose is not because the resident is afraid of the neighbors, but because he's actually trying to secure the safety of the people within the house, small children, whatnot. There is a very real consideration because I think everyone's acknowledged the ill intent of Miami Shores blocking off the street, which means that at some point those streets will be unblocked. And I've noticed that Miami Shores actually did that on the north side of their boundary as well. There's similar street closures on the northern side of Miami Shores boundary. And so I appreciate Councilperson Perella's concern that, you've got, okay, so this fence is okay, goes up, but then hedges go in behind it. And so that's certainly something we need to talk about within enforcement in terms of the hedges around the property. But this one is a challenge, to be sure, because there's nothing outwardly offensive about the fence. It seems to comport mostly with what our goals were in trying to keep a specific feeling in the neighborhood of kind of welcomeness, right? We don't want people to feel like everyone's just hiding inside their houses. We want people to feel neighborly and welcome to.
Well, 4 feet, you're not,
Right.
You're not precisely hiding.
Right, and so it's
And actually, I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but if that happens, while you guys are, assuming that it will happen and that would not be a dead end, my fear is actually bigger, because now it's a dead end, and my kids, if they go up, they're on a dead end street, at least on that side, even though the other one is a main avenue. But if it becomes a main avenue, that's an even biggest concern for me. That
Right.
at that point, I would even need a fence even more, because
Right.
now is a main avenue where cars are flying, you know, all around.
Excuse me, I don't think that's a Main Avenue. 90th is not a Main Avenue. Main Avenue is 87. 90th and
No, I mean, main
89
road,
and
I mean, like,
it's, you know, few,
Yeah, like
like
a
I said,
road.
I walk around the neighborhood like twice a day with my dogs and whatever, so I don't see high traffic to be concerned about it. You have a big backyard that is fenced in already. The front of the house is not much. You have a huge oak tree that it's, I don't know what space you get for kids to play in that little area. But again, I mean, it's just a matter of like whether what's the vision we have for the whole village.
And, yeah.
1 second, if I may. I think Vice Mayor Erbaum has something to say, and then we'll definitely take turns.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Erbaum?
Yeah, just final comment is so I say a lot of this for your benefit, so you understand why it is that we're debating so intensely about a simple 4-foot fence that is not obstruction area, that is aesthetically fine, you know, because I'm sure it's frustrating and possibly even a little confusing as to why is this such a big deal when someone just came through with new construction that got you know, passed with almost no comment, right? So what's the deal with the fence? So so in that regard, I will acknowledge that 90th is a cut-through street for, especially once people realize that there's a dead end, they jump up to Second, cut around. I'm on 89th, and that's definitely
I do it all the time.
it's definitely a cut-through street,
Yeah.
right? So I definitely appreciate that. So we'll see how the vote goes here. I guess
Awesome.
those are my comments.
We definitely
Yeah.
will. And I'll give
Yeah.
you a chance to like wrap it up and say what you wanted to say, right?
No, I was just gonna add that, unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures, but there is a few houses around the block that they do have fences in the front, not even 4 feet, 6 feet. I guess they're grandfather in, so there's nothing to do about it, but let's just keep that into consideration. So what we're trying to accomplish is to, you know, have the same look, but there's a bunch of houses with 6 feet, in El Potal. I didn't bring any pictures, but there's a bunch. I can come back. with
Actually,
it.
the one across your property,
Huh?
it's an illegal wood fence that they put, and that's, the manager's aware of that. They just did it like, it's
No,
a
I'm
low
not,
wall.
I'm not referring about that
for,
one.
for sure. Can we
No, no.
just agree that that's probably non-conforming and
So-
illegal and something to deal with? But for
So,
right now,
yeah.
what I'm gonna do is
I
try
don't
to
wanna
wrap.
get anyone in trouble. I'm not
Yeah.
referring to
We're
that one.
not a problem.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap the conversation up
Yeah.
for the council, open it up to the public. Does anyone have a comment on this item? No. All right, we'll bring it back to the council. And does anyone want to move to approve or accept the staff's recommendation to approve this item?
I'll move, but I want to say a quick comment,
Oh,
Madam
sure,
Chair,
go
if I may. Yeah, first I want to make the motion to approve. Let me just say for the record, though, for everybody watching that, people see that a lot of times, right? People will say, I'm coming to get something, and, you know, you guys act like you guys don't want me to get it, or you guys act like this is bad, but there's, you know, 3 other houses that I see that have or have worse. A lot of people have to understand that prior to this council, in the past years, there were people that did things that weren't necessarily the right thing to do, but at that particular time, we didn't have professional services in place the way that we do now, okay? Now that we have professional services in place, you know, we're modernizing the village, we're upgrading the village, and now they're catching things and they're doing things the right way. So just because you see that, you know, doesn't mean that those people just got it last month. You see what I'm saying? So those people have had it, they did it the wrong way, but now we have professional services that we're correcting everything, we're doing everything the correct way, and it's your taxes that pay for the correct way for things that happen also. All right? Thank you, Madam Chair.
This is true. So do I have a second on that motion? All right, Councilman Lightfoot Ward, comments? Oh,
I
wait,
noticed
it's a
that the
switch up,
I'm
Councilman
sorry.
Perella.
I noticed that the property is, was purchased as like a doing an LLC company?
Yeah, it's my company.
Oh, okay.
I'll transfer into Hunter right after hopefully before the year ends, the whole construction, is over, which is in my best interest to transfer as soon as possible. My taxes jumped from $4,000 to $17,000, huge.
Yeah.
So you can understand, you know, a little bit of the frustration. I was not aware of a lot of construction. I do construction. Most of the cities, not in Portal, never. I do a lot in Little River, which is very close by, but different city. So you can comprehend a little bit, you know, the frustration of an owner that you acquire property it's your property, you're paying for it, you even pay taxes to the city, to the county, and then you're not allowed to do certain things, on the property. Again, you do understand that, this is, you have to abide by certain rules, but the reason that I moved into a house is because I've been living on a condo for the past 3 years, and I have to abide by all the people's rules. So I said, well, finally I'm moving to my home, and I can, if I want to put a fence, or if I want to change the color of the roof, not something that we're discussing here, I can do it. So again, I'm here, trying to abide by the rules, but it's a little bit, again,
Right.
frustrating the process, and especially with the amount of taxes.
Cutting
that you pay
trees,
and-
cutting trees, and stuff like that. You have to, like, here, unfortunately, it's everything, even cutting a tree. Because
Correct.
we're a tree city, many of the trees that we have here are Florida native, and they're protective species, so, yeah,
It's
I understand the
frust-
frustration, but unfortunately,
It's frustrating, but it's necessary. You want someone thinking as hard about these issues and thinking about the long-term impacts. There are areas that you can go to where code enforcement is not necessarily the best, or there isn't any code, and you'll see the inconsistency among properties. That hurts your property value. It's also hurts your quality of life. So the time that we're spending thinking about this now, and the professional staff that you have thinking about it, is actually a benefit of being in a village like El Portal, because the alternative probably wouldn't get you the return on your investment that you're looking for, or the quality of life that you're looking for. So yeah, we're spending a long time debating a 4-foot fence, but I think you guys want that. You want somebody looking as closely at these issues as we are. So with that being said, I think we had a second on that motion. Did we have a second? Okay, we had a second on that motion. Madam Clerk, can I have the roll call for item, I believe this is G2?
G2, roll call. Member Lightfoot Ward? Member Nickerson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Member Herbaum?
I will say yes.
Vice Chair Perella?
no.
Chair Martin?
No.
Motion passes 3-2. You still have to come to a second hearing. The second hearing is probably gonna be it's gonna be October 25th, because I have to advertise that.
All right.
And you need to pay for the advertisement. We'll speak about it.
All right, perfect,
Okay.
thank you. Do I have to wait, or?
No.
Oh, all right.
You're
I will
good.
call you.
All right,
Pleasure to meet
thank
you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
I do want to underscore the importance with Camila to look at this fence issue comprehensively by the next Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. So we're kind of just doing this in a more organized fashion. And then I'll move on to subsection
Madam
H.
Chair?
Yes.
Just as a point, what you might do, if you're asking Plus Urbia to look at the issue, you might urge members of the council that want to send their thoughts, maybe in writing, to Plus Urbia, so they have some sense of how the council would like to see the issue go. Otherwise, you're not giving them like a lot to go on.
I was thinking of the other way, that Placerbia, because they're experts on this, so there's a lot of public safety, those things that I am not a public safety professional. So maybe they can give us a best practice guide, we can review it, and then add the color that we need and talk about what we want to prioritize or not. So for sure, we're gonna have an opportunity to chime in individually and as a body, but I do wanna start with like the professional best practices, like this is what it is, not just the desire of Darian, or Councilperson Martin.
A very thoughtful approach, thank you.
Not a problem.
We will do that.
All right, awesome. Move on to subsection H, which is another good and welfare. This is another opportunity for anyone in the audience to come up and let us know what you feel
I have
about, I guess, anything at this point.
I have one comment for good and welfare, if I
Oh,
may.
sure.
Okay, so one of the last meetings I had regarding fences, I had talked about this spot over here. So if you go up here to Second Avenue, head south, take a right on 84th, take the first left. At the end of that block, the high-rise apartments there, take the right, take the left, and you're on your way to 82nd. So you're bypassing 82nd and Northeast 2nd Avenue by cutting back through the little neighborhood there. Well, there's a stop sign at, I believe it's, let's say 83rd and something like the equivalent of East First Court, okay? And it's a two-way stop, so the north-south have to stop, the east-west do not. It's always been a little bit dangerous because you have a lot of pedestrians through there as well, narrow streets. There, right there on your right, has always been a chain link fence. Someone bought that property recently, have renovated it, redeveloped it, looks nice, but they put this 6-foot fence solid on on that frontage of that 83rd Street. And the second that went up, I was like, someone is going to get killed. Because to navigate that intersection, you now have to travel halfway into our already narrow intersection
It's crazy.
before you can see. And then this morning, on my way to work, I go that way 4 or 5 times a day sometimes. This morning on my way to work, there it is. The street's shut down. 2 vehicles collided, seemed like pretty substantially. And so I actually got out and talked to the public service aide and said, can we get code enforcement out here? He said, the driver didn't mention that. He goes, but a property owner over here came out and told me the same thing. So he was gonna have code enforcement come out and look at that fence. And so there you go. Anyway,
Yeah, that underscores the importance of
Right.
this.
it is.
Uh,
Yeah.
And it's not just about how it looks, and,
The
for
fence
sure
looks
I want
nice.
kids to
The
stay
fence
safe.
looks very
but-
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely not about aesthetics. There's a point where it's about safety as well. So with that being said, I don't hear anyone for good and welfare, so we will move on to my favorite part of the agenda, the adjournment portion. Do I have a motion
The-
to adjourn? Oh,
Point
one
of order,
second.
point
Hold
of
your
order.
horses.
I thought there were 2 issues on this thing.
We had G1 and G2. G1 was the brand new construction, the gym, the 2-story
yeah,
gym in the
yeah,
back. The garage, it was the only thing that would be visible, although they're 2 different
Okay.
styles.
They went like
No
that,
worries.
okay, all right.
We did have G1 and G2, but thanks for keeping us honest. I'll move on to ask if there is a motion to adjourn the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting
So-
on tonight, September 13th.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It is adjourning at 8:14 p.m. Any opposed, say nay. All right. Adjourned.